Tomorrow night in Tampa, Florida, downtown Tampa, Nebraska Volleyball, which has had an incredible run in 2023. The connection they have amongst themselves, amongst the fans, amongst the state is really a bond that we should be jealous of. But they are really, really good, and they will take on Pitt tomorrow night in the national semifinals. And the legendary voice, now in his third decade, joins us, John Baylor, who you will hear tomorrow night with Lauren Cook, joins us now. Good morning.
Cheers, sir.
Hey, babe.
Nick, hell, you're speaking a lot more slowly than John Bishop was at the end of that last commercial.
Wow.
Hey,
Yes.
I just like visiting a state where I can lower the average age. I'm thinking about looking for a shuffleboard game later.
Did you pack your white shoes?
What?
Did you get some white dress shoes?
I got to do that. I got to do some push-ups so I can wear a tank top on the beach. And I got some sunglasses. Even if it's cloudy, I'm wearing sunglasses around here. And I pack my hair gel. I'm going to act like I'm on TV.
Wow.
When was the last time?
Fit right in.
Was the last time you were in Florida when you came to spring training?
Almost.
Right.
About right. I was going to tell you that after being here for about 15 hours, that pitchers and catchers have not yet reported. but the Huskers have.
Yeah.
Hey, how about that entrance last night? That was quite the welcome to Tampa.
Yeah, everyone was all fired up. We climbed down the staircase at the tarmac, and there's a big old band there, the stage, and some guy who's not wearing a tie, of course, because it's Florida, and he's got like a light blue Don Johnson jacket on. He's got the microphone. He's welcoming the Huskers. I was all fired up, taking photos, and I just kind of sat on that staircase that I used to get out of the plane and watched it all, and was happy that everyone was happy.
All right, let's get to the nuts and bolts of this as John Baylor, the voice of Nebraska Volleyball, joins us. Before we can talk about this magical run in 23, I know you've said it, and I would like you to reiterate. This was actually this run of 6 Final Fours in the last 9 years, but this kind of season where they have a bond that is really unbelievable. It actually started 8 years ago. The John, and you and I have known John for a long time. The John 15 compared to the John Cook in 2023 is what that has led to what we have now.
Well, I think it starts a little sooner than that, actually. 2010, 2011 coaches he's been so public about went through a really tough time. And personally, physically, medically, he had some physical issues that he had to deal with. And he wasn't as happy as he had been, and he hadn't experienced the same kind of on-court success as he had a decade and even a half decade earlier. And he chose that moment in time, in his late 50s, at the top of his profession, effectively, to reevaluate everything he did and the way the program was run. And that really started in 2010, 2011, 2012. We really saw that reach its fruition in 2015 in this 9 years of unprecedented success when you get 6 Final Fours, 2 national championships, 2 more national runner-ups that, could have been, 3-point games in set 5 could have been 2 more national championships. Just for someone in his late 60s to be even better than he was before, it's inspiring to me, at least.
Well, and what's interesting too, and Gary's made reference, and I think a lot of us that have followed this team agree about the likability of this team, the personality of this team. And when you think of coaches that are overseeing national championship type programs where it's kind of considered, we've used the word a lot. I've used this word with you, JB, many times, a machine, that sometimes it's all business. You don't get a chance to see that personality come out with the team. How much of that, in your opinion, is more of just, what kids are about these days where they want to have that social media presence, but also how much of that is, again, John Cook and really encouraging to let those personalities show?
Well, I don't know if he encourages all that. I mean, he still keeps things pretty buttoned up. And I mean, the place runs like a Swiss watch, but you're right. That's much more accommodated than it ever has been. I mean, you'll have a couple players before a game doing TikTok,
right,
some little jig, and 15 minutes later, they're 5,400 likes on the whole deal. But I think that the image of the team and sort of the manifestation of the changes we're describing now happened at the Final Four in 2015. So that Michaela Fecky freshman year, Kenji Maloney freshman year, Kelly Hunter year 3, redshirt sophomore, national championship at CHI. Back then, I think it was called CenturyLink, the 3-set sweep over Texas. The image of Nebraska volleyball before that was very serious. Sure, you're going to get better. You're going to train really well, better than anywhere else. But there's a lot of pressure, and you don't necessarily, you're going to win a lot in the regular season. You don't necessarily win at the end, and you'll get to play pro, but is it worth it? But then the ESPN cameras were in the locker room at CenturyLink that day. And, Kenji Maloney's, dancing, and the head coach is dancing, and the players are jumping around. And suddenly the ecosystem of elite volleyball, high school volleyball players' families see that and realize, oh my gosh, this narrative is false, or it has changed. Now you can have it all. You can get trained. You can go get play pro. You can go win gold medals, and you're going to win a lot. And you're going to have a blast being a statewide celebrity. So that's when suddenly the Huskers started getting the very top recruits in the country thereafter, and the rest is kind of history.
Why is the chemistry so good with this group?
The personalities, Gare. I mean, Bergen's such a delight and poised and articulate. Laney is such a dear and fun and smiling, and Harper is best friends with Bergen, going back 6-7 years on their days on the junior team. And Becca Alec, I mean, everyone loves Becca Alec. She gets a big block. She starts stomping around and body bumping. and it just, they love being around each other because they're just good, happy, wholesome, productive people who somehow in this gauntlet of youth volleyball leading to this, the apex Final Four haven't become jaded. They just enjoy every stage. And you're right. Last night at the Tarmac in Tampa, they loved it. They ate it up, even though they've been feted and treated like celebrities for so long.
And I want to get into, what they're up against this weekend here in a moment, but it kind of getting back to their culture, JB, if there was an example that kind of, I think maybe rang true the most about how tight knit this group is, if you go all the way back to Big Ten media days and you got Lexi Rodriguez and Merritt Beeson, a newcomer in Merritt Beeson, who those two are kind of, they're having some fun. They're talking about who was most likely to do this on the team and this. And you would have thought Merritt Beeson had been with this program for, over 4 years. And we all know Lexi Rodriguez and her presence on this team as well. It just, to me, that said, you have someone, you have a Florida transfer that has just made her way, relatively still new to this program, yet you would not know that on the way that she fits in. Like right there to me was like one of the great examples of the culture and just the overall chemistry of this team.
Well, this is a different season without Merritt Beeson. I mean, we got a right side hitting almost 400 and putting up double-digit kills in 12 of the last 13 matches. So whenever there's adversity, they go to her or Harper, but she's come up with some huge kills, and part of it is the off-the-court connection she created day one when she got here back in January, and they all got here in January. That's another secret to this chemistry. But you go through the sand season, and then the trip to Hawaii, and then the indoor spring season, then Brazil, and then you got the preseason practice, and then you've got the non-conference, and then you got the conference season, and before they even got back from Brazil, it was pretty clear that she was going to be one of the leaders, and she was chosen to be captain. But think of all the leadership on this team. I mean, Lindsay Krause in most eras is one of the captains. She's an amazingly mature, fabulous student, young woman, English major. Becca Alec. I mean, last year, Becca Alec in set 5 against Northwestern on the road, the Northwestern setter suffers a gruesome injury. And time, no one knew how serious it was. Game's delayed for 20 minutes. The medics come in. I mean, Northwestern's team's a puddle. 3 more points later, the Huskers win the match. Well, they shake hands quickly, but Becca guides her team under the net, grabs the hands of the Northwestern players. They're in a circle, and Becca Alec leads them in a prayer. She was a freshman, 18 years old. I mean, just the leadership embodied in this group is something. And Lainey Choboy, she's someone who chooses Nebraska knowing she's going to be a part-time player for 2 years. Every other top 10 program in the country, for the most part, said you can be a full-time libero for all 4 years. She chooses Nebraska. There's a selflessness. There's a play for the name on the front of the jersey mentality. It's a special group.
So there will be on display tomorrow night some incredible freshmen. Olivia Babcock is a great freshman for Pitt, but we've rattled off a bunch of names, and I know this is an intentional overlooker. We're going to get to her. The role that Lexi Rodriguez plays on this team is what, John?
Um, well, she's the glue. She is the fortifier. She creates the confidence that even if the ball comes through the front row attack block, that she can keep it off the floor. She's always smiling. She's always pumping up her teammates, and they realize they're playing with a generational libero. But think of her journey. I mean, when she was thinking about colleges, first of all, she drove an hour 45, 2 hours a day to go to club. I mean, I used to say she's from suburban Chicago. She's not from suburban Chicago. She's from central Illinois. Would drive to suburban Chicago 3 times a week round trip, 3.5 hours round trip by a grandpa or a grandma or a mom or a dad. Everyone wanted her, and Nebraska got on her early, and she chooses Nebraska. And her mom talks to her in high school and says, you go to Nebraska, you may not get noticed. I mean, Lindsey Krause's the local hero. Kennedy Orr is the number 1 player in the country. You sure you want to go there? And here she's the one that emerges as beloved as any, maybe in the history of the program. It's tough to qualify her impact. Put it this way: this is the ultimate compliment. Opposing coaches design game plans to avoid her.
Wow.
Well, and JB, with the 3 teams, obviously Nebraska has a lot of familiarity with one of the other teams on the other side of the bracket of Wisconsin. But we know when you get to this point, when you get to the Sweet 16, all of those teams are going to present their own unique challenge. So tomorrow night, when you see Nebraska locking up with Pitt, what stands out about Pitt the most in that challenges Nebraska?
They're really well organized. They're really fast. Here we go again with another super fast offense. What else is new? And they have 2 of the best freshmen in the country, and Torrey Stafford and Olivia Babcock. How did these 2 Southern Californians get away from USC?
Yeah.
I mean, the USC coach should be in the AD's office this morning. First of all, Pittsburgh lost USC lost to Pittsburgh in the second round. I mean, how do these kids get away from USC? I mean, UCLA was changing coaches at the time, but Stafford comes from Torrance and Babcock comes from LA. And they're going to be, one of them is going to be a first-team All-American, probably Babcock. The other is going to be probably a second-team All-American. We'll find out later this week. They have a decent second outside hitter. They've got really good middles, but again, they have these elite pin hitters with an elite setter, and they have a really good libero. Those are the components you need, and they have one of the best coaches in the country, Dan Fisher. I mean, it's so rare in this sport to emerge from a top 30 program into the top 10 and stay.
Mm-hmm.
And Pittsburgh and Danny Buscom and Louisville have done that.
Before we get your thoughts on what your call might be on Sunday, if we get there, what do you think happens in the night match between Texas and Wisconsin?
Root for Texas. Root for Texas.
Whoa, you can't. No, you know what radio station you're on. You know what state you're in.
He didn't hesitate.
Well, volleyball fans, that'd be a good question for you. If the Huskers, defeat Pittsburgh, and it's maybe Nebraska's a slight favorite on tomorrow. But Husker fans, who do you want to play? I mean, I think the rivalry with Wisconsin is as strong as Texas. I mean, it's a little bit different, but these are the 2 despised rivals by the fan base. And if they're going to, thank goodness we're not getting both of them, but we'll get one of them. But I think the Huskers match up a little better than Texas. Wisconsin's, this is just a juggernaut. You got players who are 6'9", 6'7". I mean, all of them, they walk through an airport and everybody spins their heads, and they got to be alert going through doorways. I mean, Sarah Franklin's a National Player of the Year. I mean, this is a big physical Wisconsin team that I don't want to say is the most physical in the history of the sport at this level, but they're absolutely in the top 5. I mean, that kind of height. So it'd be nice to avoid them, but you got to get there first.
And I want to go back to where Nebraska has kind of leading up to the Final Four. We've seen maybe some more challenges in the third set. It's been maybe a little bit of I don't know if it's a concern, if it's been a little bit of a trend. What have you kind of attributed to what you've seen where Nebraska has maybe not been themselves necessarily in some of these third sets in the postseason?
Well, we have swept 3 of the 4 opponents, but I think part of it's Devaney. Opponent shows up and they're just a little blinded by the lights, and then they get they adjust, and they get accustomed to it, and they realize, whoa, we're down 2-love here, and I don't want to get back on the bus.
Yeah.
And they put up a better fight. So I think it's opponents adjusting, and the Huskers get on them pretty quickly. But I haven't seen a pattern. If anything, at times the first set was a challenge in the regular season. Look, it's tough to sustain greatness. I mean, Larry Bird occasionally would miss a 3-pointer. So these things happen.
Hey, I had that on my bingo card that you were gonna drop, Larry, legend. Okay, so for this program to finish off just an unbelievable ride that they've taken everybody on this year, from 92,000 to Wisconsin, to the comeback at Penn State, to the last 2 weekends at Devaney, now to Tampa, where there are so many Nebraska volleyball fans that are going to be in attendance. To win their 6th national championship on Sunday, it will take what?
Well, it's going to take a really good effort tomorrow. Not a great effort, but a really good effort involving everybody, especially the middles. I mean, that's been a difference maker this whole season, is that Bergen has the ability to set the middles and thus diversify the offense and deceive the defense, almost no matter what the pass or the dig. And so the Huskers are always counterattacking. So you might make a good attack. You think it's down. No, it's not. Well, actually just dug it. And whoa, the Husker offense is right back on top of you. It's like, it's exhausting. So we just need a really good example of that. Like, we can't have bad passing. The serving's improved. And one reason the serving's improved is we stopped talking about it. I mean, we were all obsessed with all these service errors. Huskers kept winning. Well, we stopped talking about it. And guess what? Only 3 service errors the other day. And if that number were 10 or 11 service errors against Arkansas, it could have been a different outcome. So that's getting fixed. So that's a big part. Is just let's play decently and play, one of their better brands of volleyball, because you can't underestimate the physical, the mental belief and strength of this team, no matter the adversity. Sunday's going to be a little different, especially if the opponent's Wisconsin. That's going to take one of the great efforts that this team could put together, and it absolutely can happen. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. For Thursday, you just got to play a very good brand of Nebraska volleyball. Pittsburgh's never gotten to the final game. They've run into that a couple times. A lot of these players have been there before. Not all. They've got some great freshmen, but I think the mental advantages Nebraska's and everything else is pretty even. And then for Sunday, if it's Wisconsin, you've just got to probably play your best match of the year: serving, passing, digging, smothering, and just withstanding the inevitable 3, 4, 5-point Wisconsin runs that are going to happen at times.
All right. What's on the agenda for today? Are we going? I know you were joking earlier. Are you going sightseeing?
Well,
Shuffleboard?
You got to talk to me, Garrister. You know Tampa better than I. I'm probably going to pay tribute to the Husker offensive lines of yore and head out to the beach in a tank top and take a photo. And I'll do a few push-ups before that happens. But
have a light breakfast.
I'll go to the convention. I'll tell you. I'll tease you a little bit. There may be a big announcement here today or tomorrow. But I'll be heading out to the convention activities. Mixing with the masses and mingling with the Husker fans. But right now it's about 70 degrees, so I'll be slathering on some sunblock.
You can't just leave it like that, like a big announcement surrounding the sport.
I said there might be.
Oh, well.
But is it the sport, or is there anything more?
You've been in radio forever. That's a tease.
Yeah.
Like, is it this?
Exactly.
Might
like
be.
When I was in college,
yeah.
I was taking this lame-o science class, and my science teacher was going to miss the next class. And he said, "Look, I'm telling you that Carl Sagan might be here to teach the next class. I'm not saying he is, but he might be here."
Oh.
There were more students at the next class than any class with the regular professor, and it was some grad student who didn't even know what he was talking about. We were very disappointed. Hopefully, I will not disappoint you with that teach.
All right. Oh. I appreciate that. I thank you for your time. It's been a great season. I always enjoy listening to you. You entertain me. And JB, look back. I made it 18 minutes without, us talking in that voice.
Oh, it's kind of fun. When I'm at home, I'm like, "Hey, pass the butter."
My good friend, have a wonderful call tomorrow night.
Who's got my left sneaker? All right. Thanks,
Hi,
guys.
JB. No, this is John
You're the best,
Baylor,
JB.
30-year voice of Nebraska volleyball.
Oh, that delivered as much as I thought it would.
And then JB on the tank top on the beach. Doing some push-ups.
Yeah.
See, there's another play-by-play guy that I feel like when you talk through there's maybe a good 5 to 10 minutes set aside where you talk like him.
Yeah.
You might be wearing the hat
Yeah.
of that guy too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It crossed my mind too.
There's been more passing than on an Autobahn tonight. It will be. That's a great breakdown by JB. I think you should put some coffee on tomorrow night, get that grandpa nap, because Pitt, Nebraska has the makings of a 5-setter. This is a great Final Four. It'll be a great Final Four.
And then, hey, they get the early one too. So you
Always
don't need like the full-on grandpa nap too. Should be.
I mean, I'll always take one.
Should be within the wheelhouse of just a normal evening activity.
It's a great showcase for the sport, and there may be a benefit, even though if Nebraska wins, and now that's an if.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Brandon says nobody does John Baylor better than John Baylor.
Yeah, but we all try. It's never lack of effort on anyone's part.
Johnny Bish, what's going on?
You talk fast.
You're still doing Creighton? Let me tell you about John Creighton. He used to. So, a quick little story here. So, John's father, John Baylor Sr., great. I loved him. Great gentleman, distinguished lawyer, distinguished gentleman in the city of Lincoln. But father and son talked exactly alike.
Oh, really?
Oh, it was amazing. It was, and
very confusing when you're calling the house. Who do I got here?
Mr. Sharp. I'm like, whoa.
Which John is this?
But it's you might get a benefit, even though there would be familiarity if Nebraska gets by Pittsburgh and let's say Wisconsin gets by Texas. You do have an extra day off this year.
Yeah.
The coaches spoke up and they said, for the better of our sport, let's get an extra day off. So you get the Sunday standalone on ABC, which could do monster numbers. The folks over at KTV are through the roof if Nebraska makes it. It would be at the same time as Nebraska K-State basketball.
Yes, it will be. Yeah. And the NFL slate, other than Cowboys Bills, the afternoon slate's kind of light.
The Saturday slate in the NFL, because we have Saturday football.
Yes, we do.
All have playoff implications.
Yes, they do.
All right, Nebraska Pittsburgh tomorrow night at 6.